I just wanted to preface this video by saying I do not encourage nor condone the use of cigarettes or weed or anything similar to that, and if you're under the age of 18, you can get out of my channel right now, but I'm going to go ahead and get the video started, and make sure to like and subscribe, of course, and enjoy. Thank you. Alrighty, so today I'm going to be smoking a cigarette, and I'm going to be reading the entire full Wikipedia page on lung cancer, but I think without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get this lit up and start the video. So, without further ado, and I'm smoking a Dejarum Bali High today, but I think I'm going to go ahead and get into the article real quick. So, lung cancer, also known as lung carcinoma, is a malignant lung tumor characterized by uncontrolled cell tissue growth in the tissues of the lungs. This growth can spread beyond the lung by the process of metastasis into a nearby tissue or other parts of the body. Most cancers that start in the lung, known as primary lung cancers, are carcinomas. I don't know how to say this stuff. The two main types are small cell lung carcinoma and non-small cell lung carcinoma, Nsclc. The most common symptoms are coughing, including coughing up blood, weight loss, shortness of breath, and chest pains. Let's see. A vast majority, 85% of cases of lung cancer are due to long-term tobacco smoking. About 10 to 15% of cases occur in people who have never smoked. These cases are often caused by a combination of genetic factors and exposure to radon gas, asbestos, secondhand smoke, or other forms of air pollution. So, I'm in that 85%. Lung cancer may be seen on chest radiographs and computed tomography CT scans. The diagnosis is confirmed by a biopsy, which is usually confirmed or performed by a bronchoscopy or CT guidance. Avoidance of risk factors, including smoking and air pollution, is the primary method of prevention. Treatment and long-term outcomes depend on the type of cancer, the stage, degree of spread, and the person's overall health. Most cases are not curable. Common treatments include surgery, chemotherapy, and radiotherapy. Nsclc is sometimes treated with surgery, whereas Sclc usually responds better to chemotherapy and radiotherapy. Worldwide in 2012, lung cancer occurred in 1.8 million people and resulted in 1.6 million deaths. This makes it the most common cause of cancer-related deaths in men and the second most common in women after breast cancer. The most common age at diagnosis is 70 years. In the United States, a 5-year survival rate is 19.4%, while in Japan it is 41.4%. Interesting. Outcomes on average are worse in the developing world. So, let's see. I'm going to scroll down. Signs and symptoms. Signs and symptoms which may suggest lung cancer include respiratory symptoms, coughing up blood, coughing, wheezing, shortness of breath. Symptomatic symptoms may include weight loss, weakness, fever, or clubbing of the fingernails. Don't know exactly what that means. Symptoms due to cancer mass pressing on adjacent structures include chest pain, bone pain, superior vena cava obstruction, or difficulty swallowing. If the cancer grows in the airways, it may obstruct airflow, causing breathing difficulties. The obstruction can also lead to the accumulation of secretions behind the blockage and increases the risk of pneumonia. Depending on the type of tumor, paraneoplastic phenomena, symptoms not due to the local presence of cancer may initially attract attention of the disease. In lung cancer, these phenomena include hypercalcemia, syndrome of inappropriate antidiuretic hormones, SIADH, abnormally concentrated urine and diluted blood. Is that pissing blood? Ectopic ACTH production, or Lambert-Eaton myasthenia syndrome, muscle weakness due to autoantibodies. Tumors in the top of the lung, known as Pancoast tumors, may invade local parts of the sympathetic nervous system, resulting in Horner's syndrome. I thought I said Homer. In Horner's syndrome, dropping of the eyelid and small pupil on that side, as well as damage to the brachial plexus. Many of these symptoms of lung cancer, poor appetite, weight loss, fever, fatigue, are not specific. In many cases, the cancer has already spread beyond the original site by the time they have symptoms and seek medical attention. Symptoms that may suggest the presence of metastatic disease include weight loss, bone pain, and neurological symptoms, headaches, fainting, convulsions, or limb weakness. Common sites to spread include the bone, brain, adrenal glands, opposite lung, liver, pericardium, and kidneys. About 10% of people with lung cancer do not have symptoms at diagnosis. These cancers are incidentally found on the routine chest radiography. Causes. Cancer develops after a genetic change to DNA and epigenetic changes. These changes affect the cell's normal functions, including cell proliferation, programmed cell death, apoptosis, and DNA repair. As more damage accumulates, the risk for cancer increases. Interesting stuff. Smoking. Tobacco smoking is by far the main contributor to lung cancer. Cigarette smoke contains at least 73 known carcinogens, including benzopriene, don't know what that is, NNK, 1,3 butadiene, and a radioactive isotope of polonium, or polonium-210. Across the developed world, 90% of lung cancer deaths and about 70% of those in women during the year 2000 were attributed to smoking. Smoking accounts for about 85% of lung cancer cases. A 2014 review found that vaping may be a risk factor for lung cancer, but less of that than cigarettes. Makes sense. Passive smoking, the inhalation of smoke from another's smoking, so secondhand, is a cause of lung cancer in non-smokers. A passive smoker can be defined as somebody either living or working with a smoker. Studies in the US and UK and other European countries have consistently shown a significantly increased risk among those exposed to passive smoking. Those who live with somebody who smokes have a 20 to 30% increase in risk, while those who work in an environment with secondhand smoke have a 16 to 19% increase in risk. Investigations of side stream smoke suggest it is more dangerous than direct smoke. Passive smoking results in roughly 3,400 cancer-related deaths each year in the U.S. Marijuana smoke contains many of the same carcinogens as those found in tobacco smoke. However, the effect of smoking cannabis on lung cancer is not clear. A 2013 review did not find an increased risk from light to moderate use. A 2014 review found that smoking cannabis doubled the risk of lung cancer, although cannabis in many countries is commonly mixed with tobacco. I hope it doesn't double, because otherwise I'm dying quick, man. Let's see, radon gas. Radon is a colorless and odorless gas generated by the breakdown of a radioactive radium, which in turn is the decay of the product of uranium found in the Earth's crust. The radiation decay may products ionize genetic material, causing mutations, and sometimes can become cancerous. Radon is the second most common cause of lung cancer in the U.S., causing about 2,100 deaths per year. The risk increases 8 to 16% for every 100 BQ/M3. Increase in the radon concentration. Radon gas levels vary by locality and the composition of the underlying soil and rocks. About 1 in 15 homes in the U.S. have radon levels above the recommended guideline and 4 picocuries per liter. PC/L140 BQ, I don't know what any of that means. Asbestos. Asbestos can cause a variety of lung diseases such as lung cancer. Tobacco smoking and asbestos both have synergenic effects on the development of lung cancer. In smokers who work with asbestos, the risk of lung cancer is increased 45-fold compared to the general population. Asbestos can also cause cancer of the pleura, cause mesothelioma, I know about that, which is actually different from lung cancer. Interesting. I'm going to take a sip of water. Air pollution. Outdoor air pollutants, especially chemicals released from the burning of fossil fuels, increase the risk of lung cancer. Fine particulates and sulfate aerosols, which are released in traffic exhaust fumes, are associated with a slightly increased risk, not significantly, for nitrogen dioxide. An incremental increase of 10 parts per billion increases the risk of lung cancer by 14%. Outdoor air pollution is estimated to cause 1 to 2% of lung cancers. Tentative evidence supports an increased risk of lung cancer from indoor air pollution in relation to the burning of wood, charcoal, dung, or crop residue for cooking or heating. Women who are exposed to indoor coal smoke have roughly twice the risk, and many of the byproducts from burning biomass are known or suspected carcinogens. This risk affects about 2.4 billion people worldwide and is believed to result in 1.5% of lung cancer deaths. Genetics. About 8% of lung cancer is caused by inherited factors in relatives of people who are diagnosed with lung cancer. The risk is doubled, likely due to a combination of genes. Polymorphisms on chromosomes 5, 6, and 15 are known to affect the risk of lung cancer. Single nucleotide polymorphisms of the genes encoding the nicotinic acetylcholine receptor CHRNA5, CHRNA3, and CHRNB4 are associated with an increase in risk of lung cancer, as well as RGS17, a gene regulating in G protein signaling. I'm going to go and take another hit. I'm going to reload it. Other causes. Numerous other substances, occupations, and environmental exposures have been linked to lung cancer. The International Agency for Research on Cancer, IARC, states that there is some sufficient evidence to show that the following are carcinogenic in the lungs: some metals, aluminum production, cadmium and cadmium compounds, chromium compounds, beryllium compounds, iron and steel founding, nickel compounds, arsenic and inorganic arsenic compounds, and underground hematite mining. Some products of combustion, incomplete combustion, coal, indoor emissions from household coal burning, coal gasification, coal tar, pitch, coke production, soot, and diesel engine exhaust. Ionizing radiation, X-ray and gamma. Some toxic gases, methyl ether, technical grade, and bis-chloromethylene, either sulfur, mustard, or MOPP, vincristine, prednisone, nitrogen, mustard, procarbazine mixture, and fumes with painting, rubber production, and crystalline silica dust. There is a small increase in the risk of lung cancer in people affected by systematic sclerosis. Pathogenesis. Similar to other cancers, lung cancer is initiated by either the activation of oncogenes or the inactivation of tumor suppressor genes. Carcinogens cause mutations in these genes that induce the development of cancer. Mutation in the KRAS proto-oncogene cause roughly 10 to 30% of lung adenocarcinomas. Nearly 4% of non-small cell carcinomas involve an EML4-ALK tyrosine kinase fusion gene. Epigenetic changes such as DNA methylamine, histone tail modification, or microRNA regulation may result in the inactivation of tumor suppressor genes. Importantly, cancer cells develop resistance to oxidation stress, which enables them to withstand and exacerbate inflammatory conditions that inhibit the activity of the immune system against the tumor. The epidermal growth factor receptor regulates cell proliferation, apoptosis, and angiogenesis, and tumor invasion. Mutations and amplification of EGFR are common in non-small cell lung carcinoma and provide the basis for treatment with EGFR inhibitors. HER2/NU is affected less frequently. Other genes that are often mutated or amplified include c-MET, NKX2-1, LKB1, PIK3CA, and BRAF. The cell lines of origin are not fully understood. The mechanism may involve the abnormal activation of stem cells in the proximal airway. Stem cells that express keratin 5 are more likely to be affected, leading to squamous cell lung carcinoma. In the middle airways, implicated stem cells include club cells and neuroepithelial cells that express club cell secretory protein. Small cell lung carcinoma may originate from these cell lines in neuroendocrine cells and may express CD44. Metastasis of lung cancer requires transition from epithelial cells to mesenchymal cells. This may occur through the activation of signaling pathways such as AKT, GSK, 3-beta, MEK, ERK, FAS, and PAR6. Performing a diagnosis. Whew, my back is starting to hurt, y'all. We got this, though. Diagnosis. Performing a chest radiograph is one of the first investigative steps a person reports that may be suggestive of lung cancer. This may reveal an obvious mass and the widening of the mediastinum, suggestive to spread to lymph nodes there, atelectasis, lung collapse, consolidation, pneumonia, or pleural effusion. The CT imagining of the chest may reveal a spectaculated mass, which is highly suggestive of lung cancer and is also used to provide more information about the type and extent of disease. Bronchoscopic or CT-guided biopsy is often used to sample the tumor for histopathology. Lung cancer often appears as a solitary pulmonary node on a chest radiograph. However, the differential diagnosis is wide. Many other diseases also give this appearance, including a metastatic cancer, hamartomosis, and the infectious granulomas caused by tuberculosis, histoplasmosis, or coccidiosis. Lung cancer may also be an incidental finding as a solitary pulmonary nodule on a chest radiograph or CT scan done for an unrelated reason. The definite diagnosis of lung cancer is based on the histological examination of the suspicious tissue in the context of clinical or radiological features. Clinical practice guidelines recommend frequencies for pulmonary nodule surveillance. CT imaging should not be used for longer or more frequently than indicated, as the extended surveillance exposes people to increased radiation and is costly. Classification. Lung cancers are classified according to histological type. The classification is important for determining both the management and predicting the outcomes of the disease. Lung cancers are carcinomonosis, malignancies that arise from epithelial cells. Lung carcinomas are characterized by the size and appearance of the malignant cells seen by a histopathologist under a microscope. For therapeutic purposes, two broad classes are distinguished: non-small cell lung carcinoma and small cell lung carcinoma. Non-small cell lung carcinoma. The three main subtypes of Nsclc are adenocarcinoma, squamous cell carcinoma, and large cell carcinoma. Rare subtypes include pulmonary enteric adenocarcinoma. About 40% of lung cancers are adenocarcinoma, which usually comes from peripheral lung tissue, although most cases of adenocarcinoma are associated with smoking. Adenocarcinoma is the most common form of lung cancer among people who have smoked fewer than 100 cigarettes in their lifetimes, quote-unquote never smokers, and ex-smokers with a modest smoking history. A subtype of adenocarcinoma, the bronchiolateral carcinoma is more common in female never smokers and may have a better long-term survival. This is wiping me out. Let's see. Squamous cell carcinoma causes about 30% of lung cancers. They typically occur close to large airways. A hollow cavity and associated cell death are commonly found at the center of the tumor. About 10 to 15% of lung cancers are large cell carcinoma. These are so named because of their cancer cells are large with excess cytoplasm, large nuclei, and conspicuous nucleoli. Ooh, man. I'm getting tired. It's time for another hit. Alrighty, back to it. Small cell lung carcinoma now. In Nsclc, the cells contain dense neurosecretory granules, vesicles containing neuroendocrine hormones, which give this tumor an endocrine or paraneoplastic syndrome association. Most cases arise in the larger airways, primary and secondary bronchi. 60 to 70% have extensive disease, which cannot be targeted within a single radiation therapy field at presentation. Others, 4 main histological subtypes are recognized, although some cancers may contain a combination of different subtypes, such as adenomosquamous carcinoma. Rare subtypes include carcinoid tumors, bronchial gland carcinomas, and sarcomatoid carcinomas. Metastasis, the lungs are a common place for the spread of tumors and other parts of the body. Secondary cancers are classified by the site of the origin. For example, breast cancer that has spread to the lung is called metastatic breast cancer. Metastases often have a characteristic round appearance in chest radiographs. Primary lung cancers also most commonly metastasize the brain, bones, liver, and adrenal glands. Immunostaining of the biopsy usually helps determine the original source. The presence of napsin A, TTF1, CK7, and CK20 help confirm the subtype of lung carcinoma. The SCLC that originates from neuroendocrine cells may express CD56, a neural cell adhesion molecule, and synaptochoids and chromogranin. Staging. Lung cancer staging is an assessment of the degree to spread cancer from its original source. It is one of the factors in both the prognosis and evaluation of non-small cell lung carcinoma. Nsclc staging uses the TNM classification, tumor node metastasis. This is based on the size of the primary tumor, lymph node involvement, and distinct metastasis. In this classification, I don't know if I could read this very well. I'm gonna skip that. Nobody mentioned that in the comments, please. Let's see. Using TNM descriptors, a group is assigned ranging from occult cancer through stages 0, 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, 3A, 3B, and 4. This stage group assists with the choice of treatment and estimation of prognosis. Nsclc has traditionally been classified as limited stage, confined to one half of the chest within the scope of a single tolerable radiotherapy field, or extensive stage, more widespread disease. However, the TNM classification and grouping are useful in estimating prognosis. For both Nsclc and SCLC, the two general types of staging evaluations are clinical staging and surgical staging. Clinical staging is performed before definitive surgery, and it is based on the results of imaging studies such as CT scans and PET scans, or PET scans, I guess, and the biopsy results. Surgical staging is evaluated either during or after the operation, and it is based on the combined results of surgical and clinical findings, including the surgical sampling of thoracic lymph nodes. Prevention. There's some photos for y'all. Prevention. Oh, this is a beautiful photo right here, y'all. This is a beautiful photo. Let's see. Prevention. Smoking prevention and smoking cessation are effective ways to of preventing the development of lung cancer. Smoking ban. While in most countries industrial and domestic carcinogens have been identified and banned, tobacco smoking is still widespread. Eliminating tobacco smoking is a primary goal in the prevention of lung cancer, and smoking cessation is an important preventative tool in this process. Why would they want to ban it? That means doctors aren't going to get as much money. Shit. Policy interventions to decrease passive smoking in public areas, such as restaurants and workplaces, have become more common in many Western countries. Bhutan has a complete smoking ban since 2005, while India introduced a ban on smoking in public in October 2008. Did not work. The World Health Organization has called for governments to institute a total ban on tobacco advertising to prevent young people, it's me, from taking up smoking. They assess that such bans have reduced tobacco consumption by 16% where instituted. That's not that that good. Screening. Cancer screenings uses medical tests to detect disease in large groups of people who have no symptoms. For individuals with high risk of developing lung cancer, computer tomography CT screening can detect cancer and give a person options to respond to it in a way that prolongs life. This form of screening reduces the chance of death from lung cancer by an absolute amount of 0.3%, relative amount of 20%. High-risk people are those age 55 to 74 who have smoked equivalent of a pack of cigarettes daily for 30 years, including time within the past 15 years. Not me. Wow. CT screening is associated with a high rate of falsely positive tests, which may result in unneeded treatment. For each true positive scan, there are about 19 falsely positive scans. Other concerns include radiation exposure, the cost of testing along with follow-up. Research has not found two other available tests, sputum cytology or test radiograph CXR screening test, to have any benefit. The United States Prevention Services Task Force, USPSTF, cool ass name, badass, recommends yearly screening for low-dose computed tomography in those who have a total smoking history of 30-pack years and are between 55 and 80 years old until a person has not been smoking for more than 15 years. Screening should not be done in those with other health problems that would make treatment of lung cancer, if not found, an option. The English National Health Service was in 2014 re-examining the evidence of screening. Other prevention strategies. The long-term use of supplemental vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin D, and vitamin E does not reduce the risk of lung cancer. Some studies have found that vitamin A, EBE, may increase the risk of lung cancer in those who have a history of smoking. Some studies suggest that people who eat diets with a higher proportion of vegetables and fruit tend to have lower risk, but this may be due to confounding. I don't know what that is, with the lower risk actually be due to the association of high fruit and vegetables diet with less smoking. I guess that just means more healthy people who eat healthier don't typically smoke. Several rigorous studies have not demonstrated a clear association between diet and lung cancer risk, although meta-analysis for smoking status may show that benefit from a healthy diet. Oh my god. Treatment management. Treatment for lung cancer depends on the cancer-specific cell type and how far it has spread, and the person's performance status. Common treatments include a palliative care, surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation therapy. Targeted therapy of lung cancer is growing in importance for advanced lung cancer. People who have lung cancer should be encouraged to stop smoking. There is no clear evidence which smoking cessation program is most effective for people who have been diagnosed with lung cancer. It is unclear if exercise training is beneficial for people who have advanced lung cancer. Exercise training may benefit people with Nsclc who are recovering from lung cancer. In addition, exercise training can benefit people with Nsclc who have received radiotherapy, radiotherapy, or palliative care. Exercise training before lung cancer surgery improves outcomes. A home-based component in rehabilitation is also useful, even though it is uncertain if home-based rehabilitation programs lead to less adverse events or hospital times. Rehabilitation with a home-based component may actually improve recovery after treatment and overall lung health. Oh my god. Surgery. If investigations confirm Nsclc, the stage is assessed to determine whether the disease is localized and amenable to surgery, or if it has spread to the point where it cannot be cleared surgically. CT scan and positron emission topography, PET-CT non-invasive tests can also be used to help rule out malignancy or mediastinal lymph node involvement. If a mediastinal lymph node involvement is suspected using PET-CT, the node should be sampled using a biopsy to assist staging. A PET-CT scan is accurate enough to be used alone. Techniques used for obtaining a sample include transthoracic needle aspiration, transbronchial needle aspiration with or without endobronchial ultrasound, endoscopic ultrasound with needle aspiration, mediastinalscopy and thoracoscopy. Blood test and pulmonary function testing are used to assess whether a person is well enough for surgery. If a pulmonary function test reveals poor respiratory reserve, surgery may not be possible. In most cases of early Nsclc, removal of a lobe of lung, lobectomy is a surgical treatment of choice. In people who are unfit for a full lobectomy, a smaller sublobar excision wedge resection may be performed. However, a wedge resection has a higher risk of reoccurrence than lobectomy. Radioactive iodine brachytherapy at the margins of wedge excision may reduce the risk of reoccurrence rather than lobectomy. Radioactive, I already said that. Rarely, the removal of the whole lung, pneumonia, I don't know how to say that, is performed. Video-assisted thoracic surgery, VATS and VAX lobectomy, uses a minimal invasive approach to lung cancer. VATS lobectomy is equally effective compared to video-assisted thoracic surgery. Is equally effective compared to conventional open lobectomy with less postoperative illness. In Nsclc, chemotherapy or radiotherapy is typically used. However, in the role of surgery in Nsclc is being reconsidered. Surgery might improve the outcomes when added to chemotherapy and radiation in early stage Nsclc. The effectiveness of lung cancer resection in people with stages 1 through 2A in Nsclc is not clear. However, weak evidence suggests that a combined approach of lung cancer and removing the mediastinal lymph node dissection may improve survival compared to a lung resection and sample of mediastinal nodes, not a complete node dissection. That's a pretty cool photo they got there. Oh my god. I need a drink of water. And hopefully the sun's coming down right now, so hopefully it doesn't get too dark. That would suck if it got too dark in here. Radiotherapy. Radiotherapy is often given with chemotherapy and may be used with curative intent in people with Nsclc who are not eligible for surgery. This form of high intensity radiotherapy is called radical radiotherapy. A refinement of this technique is continuous hyperfracture accelerated radiotherapy chart in which a high dose of radiotherapy is given in a short time period. Radiosurgery refers to the radiotherapy technique of giving a precise high dose of radiotherapy that is guided by a computer. Postoperative thoracic radiotherapy generally should not be used after curative intent surgery for Nsclc. Some people with mediastinal N2 lymph node involvement may benefit from a postoperative radiotherapy for potentially curable Nsclc cases. Chest radiotherapy is often recommended in addition to chemotherapy. The ideal timing of these therapies, the optimal time to give radiotherapy and chemotherapy for improving survival is not known. If cancer growth blocks a short section of bronchus, brachytherapy, localized radiotherapy may be given to inside the airway to open the passage. Compared to external beam therapy, brachytherapy allows the reduction in treatment time and reduced radiation exposure to healthcare staff. Evidence for brachytherapy is less than that for external beam therapy, though. Let's see. Oh, I'm going to take another hit. I needed that. Man, this is difficult. Let's see. Here we go. Let's see. For potentially curable Nsclc cases, chest radiotherapy is often recommended in addition to chemotherapy. The ideal timing of these therapies. Did I already say this? Oh, I already said all this. Okay. So I said, it's not clear if surgery is more effective than radio. I don't think I said this. So evidence for brachytherapy, however, is less than that for external beam radiotherapy. Prophylactic cranial irradiation is a type of radiotherapy to the brain used to reduce the risk of metastasis. The PCI is most useful in Nsclc in limited stage disease. The PCI increases 3-year survival from 15 to 20%. In extensive disease, 1-year survival basis from 13 to 27%. For people who have Nsclc and a single brain metastasis, it is not clear if surgery is more effective than radiosurgery. Recent improvements in targeting and imaging have led to the development of stereotic radiation in the treatment of early stage lung cancer. In this form of radiotherapy, high doses are delivered over a number of sessions using stereotic targeting techniques. Its use is primarily... I'm so sorry about that. I'm going to have that part muted. I would like to apologize. Recent improvements in targeting imaging have led to the development of stereotatic radiation in the involvement of early stage lung cancer. In this form of radiotherapy, high doses are delivered over a number of sessions using stereotatic targeting techniques. Its use is primarily in patients who are not surgical candidates due to medical comorbidities. For both Nsclc and Sclc patients, smaller doses of radiation to the chest may be used for symptom control. Palliative radiotherapy. The use of higher doses for radiotherapy for palliative care are not known to prolong survival. Chemotherapy. The chemotherapy regimen depends on the tumor type. Depends on the tumor type. In Nsclc and even relatively early stage disease is treated primarily with chemotherapy and radiation. In Nsclc, cisplatin and etopostamine are most commonly used. Combinations with carboplatin, geocitabine, and paclitaxel, vinorelbine, topotecan, and irinotecan are also used. In advanced Nsclc, chemotherapy improves the survival and is used as a first-line treatment, provided the person is well enough for the treatment. Typically, 2 drugs are used, of which one is platinum-based, either cisplatin or carboplatin. And other commonly used drugs are gemcitabine, paclitaxel, doxycyl, pemetrexed, etopostamine, or vinorelbine. I don't know why they can't just name it after people. Jesus. Platinum-based drugs and combinations that include platinum therapy do not appear to be more beneficial for prolonging survival compared to other non-platinum medications. This may lead to a higher risk of serious adverse effects such as nausea, vomiting, anemia, or thrombocytopenia, especially in people over the ages of 70 years. There is not enough evidence to determine whether chemotherapy approach is associated with the quality of life. There is also insufficient evidence to determine if treating people with Nsclc a second time when the first round of chemotherapy was not successful, it causes more benefit or harm. Adjuvant chemotherapy refers to the use of chemotherapy after an apparently curative surgery to improve the outcome. In Nsclc, samples are taken of nearby lymph nodes during surgery to assist staging. If stage 2 or 3 disease is confirmed, adjuvant chemotherapy, including and not concluding postoperative radiotherapy improves survival rates by 4% at 5 years. The combination of vinorelbine and cisplatin is more effective than older regimens. A juvenile chemotherapy for people with stage IB cancer or 1B cancer is controversial, as clinical trials have not clearly demonstrated a survival benefit. Chemotherapy before surgery in Nsclc that can be removed surgically may remove outcomes. Chemotherapy may be combined with palliative care in the treatment of Nsclc. In advanced cases, appropriate chemotherapy improves the average survival over supportive care alone, as well as the improving quality of life. With adequate physical fitness, maintaining chemotherapy during lung cancer palliation offers 1.5 to 3 months of prolongation of survival, symptomatic relief, and an improvement of the quality of life, with better results seen with modern agents. The Nsclc meta-analysis collaborative group recommends if the recipient wants and can tolerate treatment, then chemotherapy should be considered an advanced Nsclc. Targeted and immunotherapy. Several drugs that target molecular pathways in lung cancer are available, especially for the treatment of advanced diseases. Erlotinib, nindibin, getofinib, and afinibid inhibit tyrosine kinase at the epidermal growth factor receptor, EGFR. These EGFR inhibitors may help delay the spread of cancer cells for people with EGFR-M plus lung cancer and may improve a person's quality of life. The EGFR inhibitors have not been shown to help people survive longer. For people with EGFR mutations, treatment with getofinib may result in an improved quality of life compared to treatment with chemotherapy. Denosumab is a monoclonal antibody directed against receptor activation of nuclear factor kappa B ligand and may be useful in the treatment of bone metastases. Immunotherapy may be used for both SCLC and Nsclc. A vaccine-based immunotherapy treatment after survival or radiotherapy may not lead to improved survival for people with stage 1 through 3 Nsclc. Bronchoscopy. Several treatments can be provided via bronchoscopy for the management of airway obstruction or bleeding. If an airway becomes obstructed by cancer growth, options include rigid bronchiectasis, balloon bronchiectasis, stenting, and microdebridement. Laser photosection involves the delivery of laser light inside an airway via a bronchoscope to remove the obstructing tumor. The palliative care, when added to usual cancer care benefits people even when they are receiving chemotherapy. These approaches allow additional discussion of treatment options and provide opportunities to arrive at well-considered decisions. Palliative care may avoid unhelpful but expensive care, not only at the end of the life but also throughout the course of the illness. For individuals who have more advanced disease, hospice care may also be appropriate. Ooh, I've heard hospice is some gas though. Non-invasive interventions. There is weak evidence to support that supportive care interventions, non-invasive interventions that focus on the well-being for people with lung cancer may improve the quality of life. Interventions such as nurse follow-ups, psychotherapy and psychosocial therapy, and educational programs may be beneficial. However, the evidence is not strong. Further research is needed. Counseling may help people cope with emotional symptoms related to lung cancer. Reflexology may be effective in the short term. However, more research is needed. There is no evidence to suggest that nutritional interventions or exercise programs result in an improvement of the quality of life for a person with lung cancer. Oh my God. I'm not even going to look at how much is left. Prognosis of all people with lung cancer in the U.S., 16.8% survive for at least 5 years after diagnosis. In England and Wales, between 2010 and 2011, an overall 5-year survival rate for lung cancer was estimated at 9.5%. Outcomes are generally worse in the developing world. Stages often advance at the time of diagnosis. At presentation, 30 to 40% of cases of Nsclc are stage 4, and 60% of SCLC are stage 4. Survival for lung cancer falls at the stage of diagnosis becomes more advanced. The English data suggest that around 70% of patients. Alrighty, so my camera decided to cut out. I know exactly where it cut out. I'm going to read over that. Paragraph again, and then I'm going to continue the video. Sorry about that. Prognostic factors in Nsclc include presence of pulmonary symptoms, large tumor size, non-squamous cell type, histology, degree of spread, stage, and metastases to include multiple lymph nodes. Vascular invasion for people with inoperable disease. Outcomes are worse in those with poor performance status and weight loss of more than 10%. Prognostic factors in small cell lung cancer include performance status, biological sex, stage of disease, and involvement of the central nervous system or liver at the time of diagnosis. I know exactly why my phone cut out because I ran out of space because this video is going for 45 minutes now. Whew, man. Let's see. Prognostic factors in Nsclc may include presence of pulmonary symptoms, large tumor size, over 3 centimeters, non-squamous cell type, histology, degree of spread, stage, and metastases to multiple lymph nodes, and vascular invasion. For people with inoperable diseases, outcomes are worse in those with poor performance status and weight loss of more than 10%. Prognostic factors in small cell lung cancer include performance status, biological sex, stage of disease, and involvement of the central nervous system or liver at the time of diagnosis. For Nsclc, the best prognosis is achieved with complete surgical resection of stage 1A disease with up to 75% 5-year survival. People with extensive stage SCLC have an average 5-year survival rate of less than 1%. The average survival rate for a limited stage disease is 20 months with a 5-year survival rate of 20%. According to data provided by the National Cancer Institute, the median age at diagnosis for lung cancer is 70 years old, in the U.S. at least, and the median age of death is 72 years. In the U.S., people with medical insurance are more likely to have a better outcome. Whew. Epidemiology. Worldwide, lung cancer is the most common cancer among men in both terms of incidence and mortality. And among women, it is the third highest incidence, and it is second after breast cancer in mortality. In 2012, there were 1.82 million cases worldwide and 1.56 million cases due to lung cancer, representing 19.4% of all deaths in cancer. The highest rates are in North America, Europe, and East Asia, with over a third of new cases in China that year. Rates in Africa and South Asia are much lower. The population segment that is most likely to develop lung cancer is people aged over 50 who have a history of smoking. Unlike the mortality rate in men, which began declining more than 20 years ago, women's lung cancer mortality rates have risen over the last decades and are just recently beginning to stabilize. In the U.S., lifetime risk of developing lung cancer is 8% in men and 6% in women. That's pretty big. For every 3 to 4 million cigarettes smoked, one lung cancer death can occur. The influence of big tobacco plays a significant role of smoking. Young non-smokers who see tobacco advertisements are more likely to smoke. The role of passive smoking is increasingly recognized as a risk factor for lung cancer, resulting in policy interventions to decrease the undesired exposure of non-smokers to others' tobacco smoke. From the 1980s, the rates of lung adenocarcinoma started to rise in relation to other kinds of lung cancer, particularly due to the introduction of filtered cigarettes. The use of filters removes larger particles from the tobacco smoke, thus reducing deposition in larger airways. However, the smoker has to inhale more deeply to receive the same amount of nicotine, increasing particle deposition in small airways where adenocarcinoma tends to rise. Rates of lung adenocarcinoma continues to rise. United States and the U.S., both black men and black women have higher incidence. Lung cancer rates are currently lower in developing countries, with increased smoking in developing countries. The rates are expected to increase in the next few years, notably in China and India. In the U.S., military veterans have a 25 to 50% higher rate of lung cancer, primarily due to the higher rates of smoking during World War I and the Korean War. Asbestos also played a role, and Agent Orange may have caused some problems during the Vietnam War. Lung cancer in the United Kingdom. Lung cancer is the third most common cancer in the UK. Around 400 people are diagnosed with it in 2014, and is the most common type of cancer, with about 900 people died in 2014. History. Lung cancer was uncommon before the advent of cigarette smoking, and it was not even recognized as a distinct disease until 1761. Different aspects of lung cancer were described further in 1810. Malignant lung tumors made up only 1% of all cancers seen at autopsy in 1878, but had risen to 10 to 15% by the early 1900s. Case reports in the medical literature that numbered at only 374 worldwide in 1912, but review of the autopsies showed that the incidence of lung cancer had increased from 0.3% in 1852 to 5.66% in 1952. In Germany, in 1921, physician Fritz Lichtenstein recognized the link between smoking and lung cancer, which led to an aggressive anti-smoking campaign. The British Doctors Subject or Study, published in the 1950s, was the first solid epidemiological evidence of the link between lung cancer and smoking. As a result, in 1964, the Surgeon General of the United States recommended smokers should stop smoking. The connection with radon gas was first recognized among miners in the Ore Mountains near Sneeberg, Saxony. Silver has been mined there since 1470, and these mines are rich in uranium with its accompanying radium and radon gas. Miners developed a disproportionate amount of lung disease, eventually recognized as lung cancer in the 1870s. Despite this discovery, mining continued in the 1950s. Sorry about the noise, my people next door being loud. Due to the USSR's demand for uranium. Radon was confirmed as a cause of lung cancer in the 1960s. Let me take another hit. Oh, man. The first sexual pneumonia for lung cancer was performed in 1933. Palliative radiotherapy has been used since the 1940s. Radical radiotherapy, initially used in the 1950s. Oh, Jesus. Oh, I'm out of it right now. I thought it had stopped recording on my computer. All right, let me get back into it. Palliative radiotherapy has been used since the 1940s. Radical radiotherapy, initially used in the 1950s, was an attempt to use larger radiation doses in patients with relatively early lung cancer, but who were otherwise unfit for surgery. In 1977, CHART was seen as an improvement over conventional radical radiotherapy with Nsclc. Initial attempts in the 1960s at surgical resection and radical radiotherapy were unsuccessful. In the 1970s, successful chemotherapy regimens were developed. Research directions. Current research directions for lung cancer treatment include immunotherapy, which encourages the body's immune system to attack the tumor cells, epigenetics, and new combinations of chemotherapy and radiotherapy for both their own and together. Many of these new treatments work through immune checkpoint blockade, disrupting cancer's ability to evade the immune system. Epidemiology blocks signaling through a receptor on T cells known as CTLA4, which dampens down the immune system, and has been approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, for treatment of melanoma and is undergoing clinical treatments for Nsclc and Sclc. Other immunotherapy treatments interfere with the binding of programmed cell death, PD-1 protein, and with its ligand, PD-1 ligand 1, PDL1, have been approved at first, and the subsequent line treatments for various subsets of lung cancer. Singly through PD-1 inactivates T cells. Some cancer cells appear to exploit this by expressing PDL1 in order to switch off T cells that might recognize them as a threat. Monoclonal antibodies targeting both PD-1 and PDL1, such as pembrolizumab, nivolumab, atezolizumab, and durvalumab, are currently in clinical trials for treatment of lung cancer. Epigenetics is the study of small, usually heritable molecular modifications or tags that bind DNA to and modify Gene expression levels. Targeting these tags with drugs can kill cancer cells. Early stage research in Nsclc and using drugs aimed at epigenetic modification shows that blocking more than one of these tags can kill cancer cells with fewer side effects. Studies also show that giving patients these drugs before standard treatment can improve its effectiveness. Clinical trials are underway to evaluate how well these drugs kill cancer cells in humans. Several drugs that target epigenetic mechanisms are in development. Histone decalysin inhibitors in development include valproic acid, vornostat, belinostat, panobinostat, etanostat, and romodepsin. DNA methyltransfer inhibitors in development include desabine, actase, and hydrolazine. Oh, it's getting dark in here. I'm going to turn on my... There we go. It's a little bit brighter now. Let's see. Epigenetics. Oh, no, wait. I already said that. Tracer X program. Oh, my God. We're at the end. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. It's only been an hour, but I'm dying. The Tracer X project is looking at how Nsclc develops and evolves and how these tumors become resistant to treatment. The project will look at tumor samples from 850 Nsclc patients at various stages, including diagnosis, after first treatment, post-treatment, and relapse, by studying samples at different points of tumor development. The researchers hope to identify the changes that drive tumor growth and our resistance to treatment. The results of this project will help scientists and doctors gain a better understanding of Nsclc and potentially lead to the development of new treatments for the disease. For lung cancer cases that develop resistance to epidermal growth factor reception, EGFR and anaplastic lymphomal kinase, ALK, tyrosine kinase inhibitors, new drugs are in development. EGFR inhibitors include afatinib and dacomitinib. An alternative signaling pathway, CMET, can be inhibited by tivanidib and onartuzumab. New ALK inhibitors include crizotinib and ceritinib. The MAPK and ERK pathway is involved. The BRAF kinase inhibitor, dabrafenib, and the MAPK/MEK inhibitor trametinib may also be beneficial. The PI3K pathway has been investigated as a target for lung cancer therapy. The most promising strategies for targeting this pathway seem to be selective inhibition of one or more three of the class 1 PIKs, and the co-targeted inhibition of this pathway with others such as MEK. Oh, damn it. Lung cancer stem cells are often resistant to conventional chemotherapy and radiotherapy, and may also lead to relapse after therapy. After treatment, new approaches target protein or glycoprotein and are often specific to these stem cells. Such markers include the CD133, CD90, ALDHA1, CD44, ABCG2, and ABCG2. Signaling pathways such as Hedgehog, WNNT, and Notch are often implicated in the self-renewal of stem cell lines. Thus, treatments targeting these pathways may help to prevent relapse. Oh my God. Oh my God. Almost exactly 1 hour. Oh my God. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. I'm not reading the references. I know some people are going to complain to me, why didn't you read the references? You technically didn't read the whole full Wikipedia page. I can't learn anything from the references. Like, what? I'm not going to read all these. How am I going to read the URLs, man? But yeah, that's the video. Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching, guys. That is absolutely insane. I hope my audio works okay, because I've had a few times where it's glitched out. But yeah, I hope this video was funny to see a cigarette smoker read the Wikipedia article on lung cancer. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content. I have my Instagram and my book in the description down below. I highly recommend you go check out both of those, especially my book, of course. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. And until the next one, peace. Stay safe out there, y'all. Have a good day. Have a good day and stay safe.